In a highly anticipated WNBA matchup at the United Center on national television, Angel Reese endured one of the most humbling nights of her career as the Chicago Sky fell to the Indiana Fever by a staggering 27 points. The Fever, notably missing star rookie Caitlin Clark, veteran shooter Sophie Cunningham, and head coach Stephanie White still managed to dominate the Sky on their home turf, highlighting the stark gap between these two franchises in preparation, execution, and leadership. For Reese, this game was set to be a defining moment, a chance to carry her team and prove she was a box office draw without Clark. But the outcome left little doubt as to who the real face of the league is. Ticket prices dropped to as low as $3 once Clark's injury was announced, a dramatic crash that reflected not just market dynamics, but a chilling message about Reese's individual draw among fans. Despite early claims by the Sky's organization and Reese herself that she too could command national attention and build a fan base independent of Clark, the cold, hard numbers painted a different story. Ticket demand vanished almost instantly after Clark's removal from the lineup, leaving scalpers desperate and entire sections of the arena discounted to near free entry. The reality of this financial and fan interest collapse spoke volumes, delivering a sobering message to the league and Chicago's front office about where the public's interest truly lies. Reese's performance on the court did little to reclaim her narrative, as she scored just 4 points on 2 of 7 shooting, committed 2 turnovers, and looked visibly overwhelmed by Indiana's smothering defense throughout her 27 minutes of play. More than just poor shooting, her body language and decision-making further underscored how unprepared she seemed for the moment, with missed layups, clumsy footwork that led to travels, and multiple plays where she appeared lost in rotations or hesitant on the offensive end. National broadcasts captured several instances of her frustration, from visible headshakes to bench reactions that mirrored the disappointment felt by the Chicago crowd. As one analyst bluntly stated post-game, Reese's performance wasn't just below expectations, it was a disaster class. This was the first WNBA game played at the United Center, aired during a CBS primetime slot, a night billed as historic by the league itself. But instead of a showcase of the sport's future, it became a televised reminder of how far some have to go before claiming that mantle. This platform was a rare gift. No major competing sporting events, a large in-person crowd, and media buzz. But the end result was a damning indictment of the hype surrounding Reese's transition from college stardom to professional relevance. Adding further insult to injury, the contrast between Angel Reese's detailed pregame outfit and her lackluster performance on the court has fueled criticism online, as fans questioned whether more time is being spent on fashion than fundamental basketball development. Her outfit, boots, matching jacket, gloves, and coordinated accessories was undeniably sharp, drawing plenty of attention from photographers and social media accounts before tip-off. However, once the ball was in play, that pregame shine quickly turned into a post-game embarrassment. With her production so far removed from her growing celebrity status, questions are now being raised about priorities. In a league fighting for legitimacy, growth, and attention, image alone cannot carry a franchise, and this performance further fed the narrative that Angel Reese is more influencer than impact player at this stage of her career. The game itself offered multiple on-court sequences where Reese either failed to rotate, missed point-blank opportunities, or committed unforced errors, actions that are particularly glaring when juxtaposed against the carefully crafted brand she's presenting off the court. This wasn't Reese's first humiliation at the hands of the Indiana Fever. On May 17th, just weeks earlier, the Fever defeated the Sky by 35 points in a game that saw Reese attempt a more physical and antagonistic strategy against Caitlin Clark. That night, she aggressively tried to throw Clark off her rhythm, initiating contact, trash-talking, and engaging in borderline confrontational play. However, the tactic backfired badly. Clark responded with poise, led her team with calm precision, and walked away with a massive win while Reese appeared frustrated and unable to shift momentum. That matchup planted the seeds of a rivalry that has since proven to be entirely one-sided. In both encounters this season, Indiana has completely dismantled Chicago, and Reese has been a non-factor statistically and emotionally. Her visible frustration after fouls, her inability to change the pace or tone of the game, and her increasingly desperate efforts to assert herself have backfired, making each subsequent loss to Indiana more painful and more public. Fan reactions in the wake of this recent game have been swift and brutal. Social media is filled with memes mocking Reese's shooting percentage, missed layups, and visible frustration. Comparisons to Clark's production have dominated online discourse, with one particularly viral stat noting that Clark averages more assists per game than Reese does points. This kind of comparison may be unfair in terms of position and usage, but it reflects the growing frustration fans have when promised star power does not translate into tangible results. Angel Reese is now 190 of 59 from under 5 feet this season, meaning her finishing ability near the rim has become a glaring weakness. Multiple jokes circulated comparing her turnover frequency to housekeepers flipping hotel rooms, underscoring how damaging her lack of ball security has been. While fans can be harsh and the internet often cruel, much of the criticism comes from a place of deep expectation, and the disappointment stems from a failure to live up to that hype. The Indiana Fever, by contrast, delivered one of their most complete team performances of the season without relying on their marquee player. Kelsey Mitchell led with 17 points, while Ari McDonald came off the bench to score 12, including 3 three-pointers, and registered 4 steals, all while being on a hardship contract. Aaliyah Boston added 11 points and 5 rebounds, and Natasha Howard contributed 13 in an efficient outing. Lexi Hull hit a career milestone with her 500th career point. The story here was balance. 20 assists on 27 field goals, a level of ball movement and cohesion the Sky simply couldn't match. The Fever looked like a playoff team even without Clark, running crisp offensive sets, showing composure under pressure, and executing on defense with precision. Acting head coach Austin Kelly deserves significant praise for maintaining team focus and intensity throughout the matchup. His halftime adjustments and late-game rotations ensured that Indiana never let up, never gave Chicago even a whiff of momentum. The Fever imposed their will from the opening tip to the final buzzer. Meanwhile, the Sky struggled across the board. No Chicago player reached double figures in scoring, and the team's 52-point total was their lowest since 2011. Reese may be getting the brunt of the criticism, but her teammates were equally ineffective, showcasing a team-wide problem of poor shooting, inconsistent effort, and lack of identity. The offense stagnated, the defense collapsed, and the bench offered little spark. Head coach Teresa Weatherspoon has a massive task ahead of her if she hopes to rebuild morale, accountability, and structure. Chicago's early season narrative of toughness and chemistry has quickly unraveled under the weight of national expectations and mounting losses. The team's performance is raising broader questions about the organization's direction and its reliance on celebrity over substance. Unlike Indiana, who have invested in depth and development, Chicago is now facing the uncomfortable truth that they may have misjudged their roster's readiness to compete at this level. Reese's attempts to build a personal brand and distinguish herself from Caitlin Clark have only intensified scrutiny. Earlier this year, Reese made headlines by suggesting that in 20 years, people would say women's basketball grew, not just because of one person, referencing Clark without saying her name, but insisting that her own contribution would be remembered. Now, however, those comments ring hollow. With each poor outing, especially when Clark is absent, Reese's narrative erodes further. She is quickly becoming a cautionary tale about what happens when marketing outpaces performance. Despite being given high-profile media placements, brand deals, and massive online followings, the numbers on the scoreboard are ultimately what matter in professional sports. And on the scoreboard, the story is clear. Indiana is ascending, Chicago is collapsing, and Reese is being left behind. The Fever's performance also highlights just how strong and deep their roster really is. Despite missing key pieces, their bench stepped up, their veterans led with poise, and their young core played like seasoned professionals. The coaching staff emphasized accountability and execution, and the players responded with hustle, sharp ball movement, and constant pressure on both ends. Whether Clark returns this week or not, The Fever have now demonstrated they can win convincingly with their system, not just their superstar. Their victory in Chicago was a message to the league. This team is built to last. And with Clark's likely return on the horizon, the Fever may soon become an even bigger nightmare for struggling teams like Chicago. Finally, as the sports world awaits Caitlin Clark's re-evaluation and possible return, the narrative surrounding the Indiana Fever continues to shift from novelty to legitimacy. What began as a Caitlin Clark story is evolving into a larger team, movement, driven by depth, discipline, and a desire to silence critics. For Angel Reese, this latest chapter is a warning. Hype can only carry you so far. Without results, without growth, and without leadership, even the brightest spotlight will eventually dim. And if Saturday night was any indication, the light is already fading.